Okay. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classics That's Known Classics. This is episode number 1750. Oh, 61 actually. And Doubleshot number. Yeah, it's 61, Doubleshot number 1655. Now, with this one, I'm technically doing one trade plus individual issues. I think properly. There we go. Now, first we're going to start with 4 issues that, to date, have never been collected in trade. To my knowledge, there has been no explained reason for this at all. Yep, we're going to discuss Batman the Outsiders, Volume 2, issues 11 to 14, written by Frank Thierry. Issues 11 and 12 is a two-parter known as Outsiders No More. Of course, this is basically Outsiders dealing with the ramifications of the events of Final Crisis, where Batman died. So it starts off with basically Superman going to Wayne Manor, goes inside, and finds Green Arrow drinking Batman's Bruce Wayne's liquor, and then of course the Batcave is smashed. And then we see Batgirl. By the way, Batgirl at this point is not Stephanie Brown and Barbara Gordon. It's actually Cassandra Cain. Where she's beating up Penguin for information. It says, okay, not a good idea to ask me that, especially from Intergang. And Batgirl's like, let me wear my Intergang. Yeah, and then of course then she talks to a guy named Johnny Stitches. Which, yeah, she just walks over to him, flips him over, and him compliment like, love the suit. Then we see Riddler, Clayface, Mr. Freeze, and Victor Saz reacting to this stuff. And we see the Outsiders finally show up. Like, everyone thinks Batman's dead. And then, of course, basically you have Jim Gordon trying to contact Batman. What the heck is going on? Instead, he gets Geoforce and Katana from the Outsiders. And you have Nightwing acting completely irrational. Then you have Black Lightning go visit his daughter. That was one of the next movie is Alpha issue 11, and it's basically we have a 50th Batman, which is pointed out in the very next issue. That's not Batman. It's some artificial stuff. It's not really him. Investigating him with the black glove. Yeah, I thought it was J.T. Crow with issues. No, it was actually Frank Thierry. And pretty much at the end of issue 12, by the way, you have Thunder basically is in a coma. And at the end of this two-parter, the Outsiders disband. Yep. They pretty much are disbanded, and of course then you have Batgirl trying to form a brand new team. And her talking with Tim Drake. Apparently this has a remnants of the Black Glove out there. Separately to Simon Hurt. Yeah, this actually won't be explored very much here. This actually explored the pages of Batman and Robin a lot more. Yep. And the two-parter, eventually we have... It's mostly put basically like these next two issues with Batgirl trying to form a new team of Outsiders. Mr. Freeze over here, like Man-Bat, Penguin. Who is she recruit? Well, she talks to Dorian Chase, who at this point was a vigilante. Yeah, this is the brother of the original vigilante guy who actually committed suicide at the end of his own solo book. Yep, and he runs into Spoiler, which somehow basically Cruiser basically from the team. And you have basically trying to see potential recruits, and basically what she's doing is perfectly fine, forming a network of people to form something like the Outsiders. Oh, we will get the Outsiders, don't worry. It's just that she's not going to be on the team. And Alfred appreciated the way it's written here. Alfred appreciated what she's doing, but she's wondering, why isn't Dick on the list? Well, it's because at this point in time, she and Batgirl have some disagreements. So he rather not have basically like that on the team. And then we have in the final issue of this run, yes, where they actually have their fight. Yep, their fight. And they fight the whole thing of Bat being the outsiders. And of course, basically, Alfred tells them to knock it off at their fight. And of course, basically, he just tells them to calm down. Like, he does think that the network is a good idea. All depends. And of course, you have some guy with look like he was whipped. He puts on his suit, and is this Batman? No, this is actually supposed to be Azrael. Yeah, apparently what this guy is basically, then we'll explore until the annual, the annual done by Peter J. Tomasi. Yep, which comes a little bit later after this one. Yep, I'm gonna give these 4 issues a 9.5 out of 10. These are four really good issues that basically are there to bridge the gap between Chuck Dixon's run and Peter J. Tomasi's run. And I've talked to Chuck Dixon about this. Even he basically is curious, though, why would DC put these 4 issues in trade? I don't know. Are they terrible? No, they're really good. Yeah, I kind of thought they were just done by J.T. Kroll. No, they're done by Frank Tieri. I'm going to talk to Frank Tieri about this when I get a chance to see him next month. All right, next up it is Outsiders Road to Hell. This is the first of apparently 2 trades. This is basically the start of Dan DiDio's run for the book. Yes, I run this issue 26 and we're up to issue 40. This book collects issues 26 to 31. Now, but we begin right after the end of Tomasi's run, where we see that the country of Markovia has formed a non-aggression pact with New Krypton, and they sent their representative, the Eradicator. Yes, the Eradicator. Now, he does point out in the book that this is not the original Eradicator. This is a copy of his, who happens to have his memories and be with the Outsiders. Eradicator was also originally part of the Outsiders during the, I believe it was the Volume 2 run from the 90s done by Mike Burr. Now, as for why in the world they decided to do this, Black Lightning obviously wants to know, but he doesn't want anything to do with them. Nope. And by the way, at the end of the story arc, the Outsiders split in half, where Black Lightning takes Metamorpho and Owlman, of course, joined by Freight Train, over back to the U.S. Yep. Freight Train was a new character. The Creeper's in here, too. He doesn't do very much. Yeah, this whole, like Grinch. I at least gotta admit, this is some really good stuff here. Yep. Yeah, as for why in the world they decided to do this? Yeah, Geoforce does not explain his actions. And we have these other villains pop up and look like we have a potential romance spar between Owlman and Katana. Which apparently Geoforce doesn't like them because he's in love with Katana. And of course, the castle's attacked by. Right, it looks like a new 4th of July. And because of this fight here, the Outsiders split in half. Yep. And he's EFG seeing a version of his sister, who he thinks is alive, but nope, she isn't. Yep. They fight. And then, of course, basically, Katana's the one that gets him to stop fighting. And he tells Owlman over from Black Lightning, he tells him to leave. It basically has Katana Eradicator. But where the heck is Creeper? Don't know. No idea. Yep, and then we have the return of Looker to the book. Yep, Looker's back because, well, Outsiders. And then you have Katana. Here with Owlman, who she does finally make out with. Yep. And nothing comes of this. No, seriously, nothing comes of her making out with Owlman. Yep. Also, Looker in here. Yeah, Looker is a vampire. She's been a vampire since Volume 2 of Outsiders. Originally she wasn't, and then now she is. And then finally had the appearance of Freight Train. We have the three basically going back to the U.S. where, like, when they get there, the whole Krypton stuff basically is going on. Yep, of course, because Dan Didio basically telling you, here's Freight Train for you. Yeah, that's Freight Train. He's only in this volume, and he does not return after this volume ends. He does not return post-Flashpoint. They briefly fight him. Yeah, and of course, basically, where they go is they go to the place Rex recommends going to see his ex-father-in-law, a place for them to stay. And first he becomes part of their Outsiders team. Yeah, then we have basically this other Outsiders team fight Chemico, who, by the way, is not an Outsiders villain. Nope, but he's here. Yeah, somehow Simon Stagg got his hands on freaking Chemico, of all people. Yes. Halo's here too. Yeah. Yeah, the Keeper finally get volume toward the very end. Not doing very much, mind you. But this still is pretty. I love this stuff here. I gave this book a 9.5 out of 10. Next up, we're going to discuss the last 9 issues of this run. Yep. Now, some of them was put in the trade up to, like, I think it was like 36, I think it was put in the trade. Last few issues were never put in the trade for reasons. First up, issue 32, which does focus on the Creeper. Yep. Excuse me, still Dan Didio basically here. And, by the way, the Ray has become part of the book now. Yes, the Ray, from the JSA book. And we have the Creeper being held captive. Yes, the Creeper held captive by this demon woman. I'm sure everybody finds the demon woman hot. And, of course, he fights back. Fights against another demon. And, of course, he gets back home. He just sits down in his chair. He's like, okay, I guess that's over with. Yeah, finally something for the Creeper to do. Yes, the Creeper. And we finally go back to Geoforce's team. Yep, first time in a few issues they focus on them. Because throughout the remainder of this book, they go back and forth between Geoforce's Outsiders and Black Lightning's Outsiders. Geoforce's Outsiders is comprised at this point of Geoforce, Eradicator, Katana, and Halo. Just 4 people. Yes, those are his Outsiders. While Black Lightning's is consisted of himself, Marvel, Owlman, and Freight Train. Yep. There's probably some jungle here. And then the Olympian shows up at the end of issue 33. 34. By the way, they call this tagline, this was Clash of the Titans. Yep. And then for some reason, we switched artwork here. For a reason, I'm not really sure why. I mean, the art style looks similar like that of Jack the King Carving, almost looking like a cartoonish style artwork. Yeah, for some reason, that's the artwork for this issue, for reasons. And we got back to Black Lightning's team where they're taking on more machine gun stuff because, well, and we have Olympian basically do his own thing here. And Looker finally shows up Markovia, finally does something. Of course, the The artwork is done by Keith Giffen. Yes, Keith Giffen, who also co-writes this story. Not a bad idea. Keith Giffen is a good writer. 35. It's a very interesting one, and it's, well, actually, I think it's 36 is that one. Yeah, then you have 35, where you have Black Lightning's Outsiders, one fighting Freight Train, and then eventually they're free, and they end up fighting freaking Shaggy Man from the JLA. Yes, the Shaggy Man. Then you have the G-Force running on Looker. Yep. But 36 is a big turning point here. And of course, Redford's like even one, right? Really bad. Yep. And then we have issue 36. No, I thought this was like, no, I think it might be 37. And then Black Lightning takes his team to go visit his daughter, who's out of her coma, and he's here with Amazing Grace. Freight Train is like, ooh, good, nice here. It's like, charmed. Then we have the JSA show up here, make a quick guest star appearance here. They do contribute to the story. Of course, they have finding brief on the Outsiders, which that was interesting. Yep, and then it's kind of implied that both Lightning and Amazing Grace both rejoined the Outsiders with 36. $37. Oh boy, 37. This is basically part of the reign of the Doomsday stuff. Yeah, simply this is why Dan DiDio's way to writing out Eradicator of the series because of the reign of Doomsday stuff. Of course, when he shows up in the in that particular book, basically in the final story arc of Action before its relaunch, Eradicator gets killed off. Yep, they get off the Eradicator. Yeah, pretty much you just have Doomsday show up here. Reign of Doomsday was simply put basically a series. It's basically like a mini crossover, which leads to historic and action comics. It basically involves not only this book, Supergirl, Superboy, and then a Batman, even an issue of Justice League America. And all these other story arc. And you have the Outsiders fighting Doomsday, which I think this is the first of these group people ever fought. And of course, next one is going to be, Justice League America 55, which I've kind of discussed already. And then for the last few issues, basically, we have Outsiders versus Outsiders. We finally have the two teams fight each other for the next couple issues. Yep, that's literally the plot of the next two issues. Is how the two teams fight each other. By the way, the guy in the blue hood here, that's actually Harold. He comes back in the book, and they have Geoforce versus everybody in the last issue of this book. Well, second last issue, anyways. Mm-hmm. Though this issue here has Return of a Characters, and it's in the book's issue 10. Yes, that's just issue 10. Fighting. Because a lot of this book basically outside versus outside fighting each other over difference of opinion. Then we have this unknown stranger pushes a button times to end the Outsiders. Who is this, you might ask? It's Batman. Yep. By the way, gotta love the final issues cover when it comes up here. The final issues cover is a clear homage to Batman and the Outsiders #1. Yep. Love the fact we use this very cover. And see the cover, yep, it's a final issue. And yeah, Batman say a very similar line he did back in that issue. The war is over. Now the Outsiders belong to me. Yep, Batman's back. And wearing his Batman ink costume. Yep. That was with Grant Morrison. We have a little montage Batman over the years. Him working with basically Amanda Waller to stop the Outsiders from fighting each other. Yep. And of course, Batman steps in and is like, "You say you're a king? Well, then act like one. Take responsibility yours." Yep. And then, of course, the Outsiders end up fighting, well, Geoforce. And we get shoved into the Batplane. Yeah, and the whole purpose of this issue here is that Batman take both Outsider teams and simply put basically the upon Batman Inc. and Geoforce off the roster. Yeah, basically two teams finally merged. We got a big, huge roster of Outsiders, which is basically we have these other people part of the Outsiders. You have Olympian, Thunder, Amazing Grace, Owlman, Fridge Train, Looker. Pretty much anybody who's part of the Outsiders at this point in time all became one unit. And you're probably thinking, what happened next? Well, it became part of the Batman Inc. as a branch of theirs as their official Black Ops team. And then the relaunch of New 52, they had where apparently, like, supposedly these characters got off an explosion and they had Morpho actually died. Though they kind of retconned that where Morpho did survive. He popped up in the event, in the series, The Terrifics. But in the case of the other characters, what happened to them after this? Well, in the case of Geoforce himself, he wasn't seeing it until the Katana miniseries for Suicide Squad Most Wanted. Katana herself was actually next seen after this in the first issue of the relaunch of Birds of Prey. The Creeper became sort of a villain, kind of. And I think next thing it popped up after this was during Villains Month. Yes, took a couple years to bring it back. Olympian, Fridge Train, these two were never seen again. Amazing Grace and Lightning. These two also, actually it was Amazing Grace and Thunder. These two they disappeared. And they're considered on that list of missing characters. And today, these two have never come back. Because DC decided to de-age Black Lightning. Black Lightning himself basically next appeared after this in the pages of DC Universe Presents. He appeared there, been issue of Justice League. And he popped up our books here and there. And so finally they brought back the Outsiders in 2018 as sort of a secret group that Batman formed as a lead into Dark Knight's Metal. Yep. But as for a lot of the other people, they pretty much were dropped from DC Comics after this. The Batman himself, well, he himself basically we got a brand new costume post relaunch. The Jim Lee costume, and then he got redesigned, done by Greg Capullo, which that costume managed to last up until about a few years ago when he switched up for a classic costume with the black underwear, which for Batman it felt necessary for him to get rid of it, and him going back to it made no sense at all. Superman made perfect sense because a lot of people missed it, and you got to think Bendis bringing that back. But in the case of the Outsiders, we would see their book again. We would see the book come back, but we had to wait a long period of time for that. We had to wait 6 years for this book to come back. 6 years. And they kept delaying it for some reason. They delayed the first issue of this book several times. And eventually the book was finally launched. And it got canceled after 17 issues. Probably because they have fighting Ra's al Ghul series. Yeah. But this book by far is really good. I do recommend checking out the runs by Chuck Dixon. Now, the runs by Chuck Dixon and Tomasi, both those two runs are completely 100% trade. Frank Turi's run, nope, not in trade. Dan DiDio's run, most of his runs are in trade, but not the entirety of it. I'd say up until about issue 35 is in trade. And I actually think it's about 37, but the last few issues are never in trade. From what I can tell. Yeah. The reason why I didn't get a chance to review the final trade is because, well, I didn't want to wait. I just reviewed it because I felt like it. Yep. So yeah, that's a particular review. Next is going to be Baruto and one more manga review. And that'll be it for today. Okay, next video. Bye.